Naturally, the Emperor would want his own royal protectors as he was a key target for assassinations and kidnapping plots, and Palpatine created the Royal Guard, which served as an elite, fanatical personal bodyguard group. Originally, the Senate Guard was in charge of protecting higher members of the government, but Palpatine chose to bring on his own members who were personally selected from the most skilled Senate commandos and the Sun Guard. Over the course of the Clone Wars, they replaced the Senate Guard as the Republic slowly transitioned into the Galactic Empire. Once the Empire was officially put into place, the Red Guard was officially reorganized into the Imperial Royal Guard, and their singular job was to protect the Emperor since the rest of the government had been dissolved. In order to be recruited to the Royal Guard, you had to be non-clone human males who were originally part of the Stormtrooper Corps, and your selection was based on intelligence, strength, and unwavering loyalty. In order to test this loyalty, pairs of trainees were ordered to fight to the death before Palpatine himself, and only the victor would earn the right to wear the crimson robes. Palpatine clearly didn't need the Guard since he was the powerful Sith Master, but they were used to maintain his public image as a frail politician, and eventually they would filter out the minor threats so that Palpatine didn't have to reveal his Force powers. From time to time, Palpatine would loan his Guard to some of his higher-ranking officials such as Darth Vader and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Not only would they help protect them, but they would act as spies for Palpatine so he could sniff out any signs of disloyalty. Naturally, they were privy to seeing some of Palpatine's most intricate plans, and one of these included his attempt to bring Luke Skywalker over to the dark side on the second Death Star. By the way, to celebrate Maul Shadow Lord, we're having a special discount on all sabers associated with Darth Maul, be it his double-bladed one or the Darksaber. Get yours now for 40% off and use the code MAUL in the description below. During the Battle of Endor, Palpatine sent his guards out of the room while he handled Vader and Luke, but the guards weren't happy about this. Both of the guards saw Palpatine as a godlike being, but they also worried about any potential threats that presented themselves. With Luke being more of a powerful unknown, both of the guards were frustrated about being sent away and worried about what could happen in their absence. On top of that, they were only human, so there were also hints of jealousy as they had hoped to witness the transformation of Luke to the dark side of the Force. Since the Royal Guards were trained to only follow their sole purpose of protecting the Emperor, they felt worried about failing their one goal in the possibility that something terrible happened. While standing outside of the room, they could hear the sounds of lightsabers crossing and Luke screaming, and they felt a rush of excitement about the possibility of Luke finally breaking or being destroyed. Their confidence was finally shattered after they heard one final scream that was unmistakable, the scream of Palpatine being thrown into the shaft by Vader. After this, the Royal Guards broke protocol and entered the room to find that only Vader and Luke remained, and Vader was not the man that they knew anymore. Not all of the Royal Guard were able to make it off the Death Star, but there were quite a few who were able to escape. Immediately following the Emperor's death, many of the surviving guards added a black hem to their red robes as a sign of mourning. Naturally, the Empire didn't fall in one day, and many high-ranking Imperial remnants found their way scattered across the galaxy. Many of the Red Guard ended up serving the ones they could find, such as Grand Admiral Ray Sloane and General Gilia Shale, as the Empire continued to collapse. One of the final active Royal Guards to be confirmed in battle was found during the Battle of Jakku in the year 5 ABY, and the Guard ended up dying here. In the expanded universe, certain members of the Royal Guard ended up following their own destinies. One of the former guardsmen named Carnor Jax ended up trying to seize the throne by sabotaging Palpatine's clone bodies. Jax was originally a son of a Thursian Sun Guard who was executed by Palpatine for failing to follow his directive, and Jax ended up serving in the elite Black Hole unit before getting solicited to be a Royal Guard. Unlike some of his closest partners and rivals in the Academy, Jax was loyal only to himself, and he was trained in the dark side of the Force by Lumia, the Dark Lady of the Sith. With this training under his belt, he ended up coming up with his own plan for seizing the throne from Palpatine. After the Emperor died on the second Death Star at the Battle of Endor, the Emperor returned in clone bodies that he had stationed all around the galaxy. Jax tried to orchestrate the final death of the Emperor by bribing the physician in charge of the clones to sabotage them. He asked the physician to make the clones so that they deteriorated rapidly instead. In order to secure his claim to the throne, Jax had his fellow Royal Guards on Yinchor massacred, and only Carnor managed to escape the slaughter. Jax took control of an Imperial remnant, ruling through an interim council. He modified the traditional red Royal Guard armor into a black and red variant to signify his status as a sovereign protector and Dark Lord. Obsessed with eliminating the last witness to his treachery, Jax tracked Carnor back to their old training grounds on Yinkor. Despite Jax's force powers, Carnor's superior martial skill and single-minded focus on vengeance allowed him to slay Jax in a final duel in the Squall Arena. Of all of the Royal Guards that managed to survive the fall of the Emperor, Jax is considered to be the most successful of them all. As for Carnor, he survived the purge that Jax ordered on Yinkor. He became a legendary figure who was dedicated to hunting down anyone who had betrayed the Emperor. As for some of the other Royal Guards, many of them decided to end their own lives out of sheer disappointment in themselves for failing to protect the Emperor. One of the few who decided to devote themselves to another official was Grodin Tierce. Grodin started out as an exceptional stormtrooper who had the designation TR-889, and he was known for his tactical brilliance and unwavering loyalty. At the age of 24, he was selected for the Royal Guard, and he served the Emperor until the Battle of Endor, which he survived by being stationed as a regular stormtrooper unit on the planet of Magagran. After the Emperor died, Grodin ended up serving Grand Admiral Thrawn, and Thrawn was so impressed by his physical prowess and tactical mind that he used him as a template for a secret experiment. Thrawn attempted to make super soldiers by cloning Tierce, and he used flash imprinting technology to input some of his own strategic genius. In the end, the project failed horribly since it didn't provide a new Grand Admiral, but it did end up making a tactically brilliant stormtrooper. This clone managed to outlive Thrawn as well, and it became a major player in the Imperial Remnant almost 10 years later. He partnered with Moff Willem Disra and a con artist named Flim. They managed to manipulate the New Republic into a civil war over the Kamas document. After some time, Clone Tierce thought that he might be the hand of Thrawn. After Admiral Pellaeon revealed that he was a clone, Clone Tierce ended up having a breakdown as his mental stability crumbled. He ended up getting killed by one of Talon Karrde's bodyguards while he was trying to assassinate Pellaeon to stop a new peace treaty with the New Republic. So that was the ultimate end for Grodin Tierce in every way. Some of the remaining Royal Guards decided to rejoin the ranks of regular stormtroopers or join some Imperial warlords, and in one instance, some of them even used holographic recordings to trick people all over the galaxy into believing Palpatine had returned. The direct successor to the Royal Guard was the elite Praetorian Guard, which was used for Supreme Leader Snoke. But these beings wore armor that was designed to deflect lightsabers, since the Jedi were once again a bigger enemy than during the time of the Galactic Empire. Instead of being a silent sentinel type that stood in the background as the last line of defense, these soldiers were ready for high-intensity, multi-weapon ready units that were sometimes the first line of defense when dealing with insurgencies. Of the original 8 elite Praetorian Guards, they were all wiped out when Kylo and Rey destroyed Snoke and attacked them in the throne room. Even though they were designed to be resistant to lightsaber attacks, they were outdone by the skill and teamwork of Kylo and Rey. There was a separate trip of Praetorian Guards who appeared prior to this in 9 ABY, who were part of the Shadow Council and were stationed at Moff Gideon's base on Mandalore. After they managed to kill Paz Vizsla, all 3 of them decided to face off against Din Djarin and Grogu, and they were defeated soon after. It was clear that this shift in the guards was not the right direction, and they decided to go in a different direction when dealing with the rebirth of Palpatine. Without the Emperor's guiding will, the guards seemed to be a man without a master, and the ones who decided to continue living were left to their own devices for quite some time. It wasn't until the Emperor decided to rebuild his forces on Exegol that the Royal Guard seemed to be rebuilt. After the Emperor fell down the shaft of the second Death Star, he used an ancient Sith technique called Essence Transfer, and this allowed him to cast his consciousness across the galaxy. He decided on Exegol since it had a hidden stronghold that was absolutely steeped in dark side energy, where a replacement vessel was waiting for his essence. He spent years on Exegol researching clones with the Sith Eternal, which was a fanatical cult of occultists and scientists, but for many years these were failed experiments. Many of them were not able to hold his dark side essence and would deteriorate rapidly, and even the one that he ended up with during his confrontation with Rey and Kylo was failing and on a life support harness known as an Omen harness. In an attempt to create a more stable host, the Sith Eternal created strand casts that were beings like Snoke. They would serve as proxy to the Emperor, and one of them even became Rey's father, though he lacked any Force sensitivity. With the Emperor ruling from the shadows of Exegol, he created his own version of the Royal Guard once again, and these were known as the Sovereign Protectors. These were considered to be the absolute finest soldiers in the Sith Eternal Army, and their armor was crimson and black that blended the original Royal Guard armor with the modern Sith Trooper design. The helmet had a distinctive lip over the eye slit, and they were also fitted with crimson capes. Each of them carried ceremonial weapons like the scythe-like force pikes, and they carried two-pronged blaster rifles for different combat circumstances. These beings were raised from birth by the Sith Eternal, and they were even more fanatically loyal to Palpatine, more so than the original Royal Guards that he employed during the time of the Empire. Unlike the Royal Guards, these beings were required to have a latent Force sensitivity, and they were trained by dark side adepts so that they could channel the dark side for destruction and combat. The few remaining protectors at the time of Rey and Kylo's attack faced off against them but were wiped out entirely, leaving Palpatine to face the duo on his own. Oh, and again, for a limited time, every Stickman saber purchase comes with 2 additional combat sabers, so you're more than ready for your own duels. If that sounds like something you'd want to look into, the link's in the description.